Can you teach me to dance? The afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows of the grand living room, casting golden rectangles across the marble floor. Sarah Mitchell sat quietly in her wheelchair, her small hands gently stroking the soft white fur of her stuffed rabbit. At 8 years old, she had learned to find comfort in simple things. The rabbit had been her constant companion since the accident 2 years ago. Across the spacious room, business papers lay scattered on an antique desk. Victoria Hamilton, the youngest female CEO in the city's history, had brought her work home again. At 32, she commanded boardrooms and closed million-dollar deals with ease. But today, something felt different. The usual satisfaction from her achievements seemed distant. Victoria had been visiting the Children's Hospital as part of her company's charity program. It was supposed to be a brief photo opportunity. Smile for the cameras, hand over the donation check, and return to the office. Instead, she found herself drawn to the pediatric wing, where she met Sarah. The little girl had been sitting alone by the window, watching other children play in the courtyard below. When their eyes met, Sarah had smiled with such genuine warmth that Victoria felt something shift inside her chest. Before she knew it, she was sitting beside the wheelchair, listening to Sarah's stories about her stuffed animals and her dreams of dancing. "My mama used to dance with me in the kitchen," Sarah had whispered, her voice soft as flower petals. "Before the accident, she would lift me up and spin me around. I felt like I was flying." That conversation had led to this moment. Victoria had asked Sarah's grandmother if the girl could visit her home for an afternoon. The elderly woman had agreed, grateful for any kindness shown to her granddaughter. Now, in the quiet elegance of Victoria's penthouse, Sarah seemed smaller somehow. The vastness of the room made her wheelchair appear fragile, like a paper boat on an endless sea. "Miss Victoria," Sarah's voice broke the gentle silence. "Yes, sweetheart, can you teach me to dance?" The question hung in the air like morning mist. Victoria felt her heart skip, then settle into a slower rhythm. She had expected many things, but not this. Not the raw hope in Sarah's blue eyes, or the way the little girl clutched her rabbit tighter as she waited for an answer. Victoria rose from her chair and walked slowly toward Sarah. Her high heels clicked softly against the marble, each step measured and careful. She knelt beside the wheelchair, bringing herself to Sarah's eye level. "What kind of dancing did you have in mind?" Victoria asked gently. Sarah's face lit up like sunrise breaking through clouds. "Any kind. I just want to feel like I'm dancing again. Even if it's different now." Victoria studied the child's face, seeing past the wheelchair to the spirit that burned bright within. In that moment, she remembered her own childhood dreams of becoming a ballerina, dreams she had abandoned for the practical world of business. When had she stopped believing in magic? "I think I know exactly what we can do," Victoria said, her voice warm with possibility. She moved to the sound system built into the wall and selected a piece of classical music. Soft piano notes began to fill the room, gentle as falling rain. Then she returned to Sarah and, with infinite care, helped the little girl transfer from her wheelchair to the plush carpet. "Dancing isn't just about our feet," Victoria explained, settling cross-legged beside Sarah. "It's about expressing what's in our hearts through movement. Any movement." Sarah's eyes widened with wonder as Victoria began to demonstrate. Sitting on the floor, Victoria moved. Her arms in graceful arcs, her hands painting invisible pictures in the air. Her movements were fluid, telling a story without words. "Now you try," Victoria encouraged. At first, Sarah was hesitant. Her movements were small, uncertain. But as the music continued and Victoria's gentle guidance gave her confidence, something beautiful began to happen. Sarah's arms became birds taking flight. Her hands became leaves dancing in the wind. Her entire upper body swayed with the melody, creating a dance that was uniquely hers. "I'm dancing," Sarah whispered, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. "I'm really dancing." Victoria felt her own eyes fill with tears. She had forgotten how it felt to create something purely for the joy of it, without thinking about profit margins or quarterly reports. Here, sitting on her expensive carpet with this brave little girl, she remembered what it meant to live with an open heart. They danced together for what felt like hours, though it was only minutes. Sometimes Sarah led, her movements bold and imaginative. Sometimes Victoria guided, showing her new ways to express the music. They created patterns in the air, told stories with their gestures, and found a language that transcended the limitations of the physical world. As the song came to an end, both were breathless and laughing. Sarah's cheeks were flushed pink with excitement, and Victoria realized she hadn't felt this genuinely happy in years. "Thank you," Sarah said, reaching out to take Victoria's hand. "That was the most beautiful dancing ever." Victoria squeezed the small hand gently. "Thank you for reminding me that dancing comes from the heart, not the feet." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the dust motes dance in the afternoon sunlight. Victoria realized that in teaching Sarah to dance, she had learned something far more valuable. She had remembered how to find joy in simple moments, how to see possibility instead of limitations. From that day forward, everything changed. Victoria began visiting Sarah regularly, not out of corporate obligation, but from genuine friendship. They danced together often, creating new choreography that celebrated what Sarah could do rather than mourning what she couldn't. Victoria also discovered that her business meetings became more creative, more focused on building connections than just closing deals. She started a program that brought adaptive arts education to children in hospitals, funding dance therapy sessions and hiring instructors who understood that movement is universal. Sarah flourished under Victoria's friendship, her confidence growing with each visit. She began teaching other children at the hospital her special style of dancing, spreading joy like ripples in a pond. On quiet evenings, when Victoria sat alone in her penthouse, she would sometimes put on music and dance the way Sarah had taught her. Moving her arms like birds in flight, she would remember the afternoon when a little girl's simple question had changed everything. Sometimes the most profound lessons come from the smallest teachers. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give is believing in someone's dreams, even when they seem impossible. And sometimes, in helping others learn to fly, we discover our own wings. The dance continues, filling hearts and changing lives, one graceful movement at a time.